Great. We will call the meeting of the State Allocation Board to order at 3:05 p.m. My apologies for being late. And pursuant to SB 143, Chapter 196, Statutes of 2023, the meeting is being conducted by way of Zoom and also being broadcast in room 4221 at the Ziggurat Building, 707 3rd Street in West Sacramento. If you want to provide public comment in person, 707 3rd Street in West Sacramento. In order for our meeting to run efficiently and for those participating remotely, please be muted during the meeting. If any member of the public would like to make a comment, please use the raise hand feature in the Zoom interface, which can be found at the bottom of your screen. If you're calling into the meeting and not either appearing in person or using the Zoom app, unfortunately, you will not be able to make a public comment. And the board will meet in closed session upon the conclusion of the general meeting pursuant to Government Code Section 11126E1 for the purpose of conferring with and receiving advice from legal counsel regarding pending litigation. And if we may, Mr. Watanabe or Ms. Silverman, please send that Zoom link to our members so that they have it at the top of their inbox when we're ready to adjourn into closed session. And with that, we will establish a quorum. Ms. Jones, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, I will. Senator Wilk? Senator Laird?
Here.
Senator Newman?
Here.
Assembly Member Bonta?
Here.
Assembly Member Marisucci? Assembly Member Davies? Juan Morales?
Here.
Jeremy Smith?
Here.
Ana Lasso?
Here.
Gail Miller?
Here we have a quorum. Next, we will move to the minutes for August 23, 2023. Any public comments? I will move. May we have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Assemblymember Bonta. May we call the roll, please?
Certainly. Senator Laird?
Aye.
Senator Newman?
Aye.
Assembly Member Bonta?
Aye.
Juan Morales?
Aye.
Jeremy Smith?
Aye.
Ana Lasso?
Aye.
Gail Miller?
Aye, the minutes are approved. Next, we'll move to the executive officer statement, please, Ms. Silverman.
We have a few announcements tonight. Obviously, some great news about the fall bond sale that actually occurred mid-September. We have the monies in our accounts effective about a week ago. But we'll be introducing at the November 29th meeting those bond proceeds for $171 million. So that's great news. So stay tuned for November to have some projects approved. And then our second update is really that we're highlighting that we have the second round of apportionments for the extended full day kinder program. And then again, the board did close up the filing round on March 2nd, and we had an overwhelming a number of applications, 446 applications that came in for nearly $1.5 billion. So tucked in your agenda today and the action item, we'll be introducing those projects, 346 million. So proud that we're moving that forward. And then any residual projects and residual funds will be awarded in November. And then our next announcement is just to remind the board that we won't have a meeting in October, and we will have a remote meeting offered on November 29th. And then my last announcement is I wanted to share with the board that I'm retiring effective December 1st. So I'm really thrilled for this next chapter. And it's been an awarding opportunity. I'm just humbled by this opportunity to serve the board for the last 13 years and nearly 14 years. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this transition. But 39 years of public service, it's been a great run, and I'm humbled again, and I'm gonna miss you dearly. And most of all, I will be missing collaboration with our districts and our members, and I look forward to keeping the movement alive. And I'll be missing my staff, and what a great team we have. So I really am excited about this new opportunity, and so I want to share the news tonight.
So I think there are a few people in public service that have contributed as much as Lisa Silverman. Now, like, you made me emotional. I think it's not only in the obviously the schools that have been built and the ways our students have been able to learn and study, but with the humility and professionalism and grace that you've brought to this work, as it really is second to none. It is an incredible loss to the state of California. The way you've lifted up your team and really worked with districts in a way that they really don't even need consultants, that you have worked so hard to solve problems and really do the best for the people we all do this work for is truly, truly phenomenal. And if I could have talked you out of it, I certainly would have, but I do think it's an incredible opportunity for you. And I know that you'll continue to serve in everything you do, but hopefully we'll have some real time to express gratitude for you and to you. But I just personally just want to take a moment to really thank you from the bottom of my heart. I've learned more about what it is to be a selfless servant from you than really anyone else. So thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. And I shed a lot of tears this morning when I shared the news with my staff. So I'm trying to keep myself together, but thank you.
Anybody else?
I'd like to just also chime in, and Lisa and I have spoken about this at length. Like you, Gail, I wish I could talk her out of this, but I knew this might be coming, and I'm just so proud to have you part of our DGS team, aside from leading OPSC, and you're going to be sorely missed. But I know that you left an incredibly strong team in place, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart that you put this team together, and you've grown them, and I've had an opportunity to meet most of them in some of your team building exercises. So thank you so much, Lisa, for your service and your commitment to our public schools.
Thank you.
I also just want to say really quickly, first of all, congratulations, Lisa. I'm excited for you and your family on your next chapter. Of course, this is another huge loss for OPSC. We just recently lost Barbara, and now you. But like you said, OPSC has a great team, and together you've led them through many challenges and got them to the place that they're at today, and helping countless number of schools to be built, to be modernized, thanks to the work that you have done, your leadership team has done. So we will miss you, but I'm also really excited for you on your next chapter.
Thank you.
And Juan Morales worked at OPSC too. So we have
Yes.
we have a whole legacy of people who have committed themselves to public service, thanks to Lisa.
It's been a great journey. Thank you.
Okay. So you want to move on to the consent agenda? Let's give away some money.
Consent agenda is ready for approval. And just to remind folks that we have $146 million in projects. And yay, great news. And we've been really busy. So there's 48 projects for approval.
Great. Any public comment? Just a reminder to use the raise hand feature. Seeing none. Any questions? May we have a motion in a second, please?
So moved.
Moved by Senator Newman, seconded by Juan Morales. May we call the roll, please?
Senator Laird,
Aye.
Senator Newman,
Aye.
Assemblymember Bonta,
Aye.
Juan Morales,
Aye.
Jeremy Smith,
Aye.
Ana Lasso,
Aye.
Gail Miller.
Aye, the consent agenda is approved. Next, we'll move to the financial reports, please, Lisa.
Yes, on page 112, we just wanted to, again, highlight the fund releases for the month of August. And so we weren't able to share those updates, obviously, last month, but we had nearly $39 million that was dispersed to school districts. So that's great news. Actively, this fund release process is working in the direct apportionment model. So that's really great news. And as far as the status of funds, as we shared on page 115, 116, those approvals that were part of the consent agenda is noted on the status of funds. So with that, I will open it up to any questions.
Any questions? Any comments? Great. Next, we will move to Mr. Watanabe, are we moving to the additional grant for general site development?
Yeah, this is a quick one. We're seeking board's approval to extend the general site grant for an additional 2 years. Currently, the general site grant is a supplemental grant to the school facility program grants. It covers your hardscaped areas, your landscape, sidewalks, parking lots, athletic fields, and such. The current regulation expires January 1st, 2024. So to be able to continue giving that grant, we do need to extend it on an emergency basis so that it isn't in effect in time with the zero gap in funding. So we're proposing 2 years. That gets us through any potential future, until a future bond measure is approved, and see how that changes the program. But it allows us to continue the grant for anyone getting general fund proceeds beginning January 1 forward. So with that, a recommendation is a 2-year extension on the general site grant.
Great. Thank you. Any questions? Any public comment? Seeing none, may we have a motion in a second, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Bonta.
Second.
Seconded by Senator Newman. May we take the roll, please?
Sure. Senator Laird,
Aye.
Senator Newman,
Aye.
Assemblymember Bonta,
Aye.
Juan Morales,
Aye.
Jeremy Smith,
Aye.
Ana Lasso. Gail
Aye.
Miller. Oh, thank you. Gail Miller.
Aye. The additional grant for general site development is approved for 2 years. Now, Mr. Watanabe will move to the proposed amendments to the California Preschool TK and Full Day Kinder Facilities Grant Program, please.
Thank you. Yeah, we're on page 136 of the agenda, and we're doing 2 things in this item. One is proposing proposed regs to modify the program for future filing rounds, and the second is a policy approval from the board going forward for prior 3rd round and 4th round projects. OPS, this came about because OPS has 4 appeals in-house with school districts asking for extensions to their timelines for apportionments they received last fall for the full day kindergarten program. We took a look at their requests, and as we took a look at these requests, we thought it's a good time to revisit the timelines set forward in this program. When the program was first created in 2018, we only had $100 million to work with. They are meant to be quick projects, convert existing kids from part day programs to full day programs. So if you had two sets of classes sharing classroom, we would drop down another classroom so you can do 2 full day classrooms. On average, the projects were about 2 classrooms in size, but with the expansion in 2021 to include preschool and transitional kindergarten classrooms, we're seeing project sizes double. On average, the 4 classrooms per project. The largest ones approved last year had 10 classrooms. So it was no longer just a quick drop a few classrooms down and move on with their school. There's a lot more consideration school districts are taking into account, from drop-off areas, playground space, and just separation of these younger kids. So as we looked at the deadlines, on page 137, we kind of lay out what was existing and what we're proposing. Under the current regulations, once school districts get an advanced apportionment from us, they have 1 year to get DSA and CD plan approvals to us, as well as full contracts for completion of the project. Regardless whether in that 12 months they gave us the plans early or late, they only had 1 year to finish the project and give us the final expenditure report. Well, with these school districts that we have the appeals, we're finding out there's not enough time for them to complete these projects due to a number of circumstances. One is just from a timing standpoint. These projects, the only way they can meet the 1 year deadline, a lot of them have indicated, is to use modular facilities. Well, in January 2023, there was code changes during the triennial building code cycles. And a lot of these modular companies have had not enough time to get new buildings approved so that school districts can use them. There are a number of districts or a number of companies working their way through DSA right now, but they don't anticipate getting DSA approval on their plans till into this calendar year. And that presents a problem for a lot of these school districts because their due dates to us are September, October, and November, respectively. And what we've shown on attachment B is out of the 69 projects that were approved last year, only 3 have met those requirements so far. A lot of them are coming up on their deadlines, and a lot of them had deadlines on September 21st of this month. The second proposal we're doing, so we would like to propose that 12-month extension be expanded to 18 months. It kind of aligns with our school facility program. The other alignment we're trying to do is extend the completion deadline to 3 years from apportionment. Under the SFP, projects have 3 years after fund release to complete their project. We're proposing under this program, they have 3 years from apportionment to do their project. Now, just like the SFP, anyone that can't make that first 18-month deadline, we are proposing an exception to that rule if they can show substantial progress to the board, that they're at least making forward progress on their project. So maybe they've submitted to DSA but not have come out of it yet, or maybe they have got DSA plans but not have signed construction contracts. So we're proposing regs to extend that to a maximum of 3 years from apportionment, which would not be movable at that point. They would need to finish it. We talked to the 4 districts with appeals. All of them believe these new regs will help them with their projects and get them to completion. If the board approves these regs, it apply to all future rounds. So the second thing we're asking the board to do is apply from a policy standpoint. Everyone approved in the 3rd round last year allowed them to have these extended deadlines as well. And everyone that's being approved this month's agenda allowed that this month, and the 4th round for we're taking the carryover to November, allow these timelines to extend to them as well. So 2 recommendations are recommended to the board to help all these school districts out.
Great. Thank you very much. Any questions? Any public comment? May we have a motion?
I would move the proposed amendments.
Thank you, Senator Laird.
Second.
Mr. Smith seconds. May we take the roll, please?
Certainly. Senator Laird,
Aye.
Senator Newman,
Aye.
Assemblymember Bonta,
Aye.
Assemblymember Davies,
Aye.
Juan Morales,
Aye.
Jeremy Smith,
Aye.
Ana Lasso,
Aye.
Gail Miller.
Aye. The proposed amendments to the preschool, TK, and full day kinder facilities grant are approved. Next, we will move to the California preschool, TK, and full day kindergarten apportionments. Please, Ms. Silverman.
Yes, as we shared earlier, just wanted to highlight that this last filing round, again, we have 84 projects to present for $346 million. And that's on attachment B. So we're thrilled for that opportunity. And again, this program was established based on priority points, and those districts that actually met the threshold for financial hardship, they actually gained 40 points. And then it's based on a sliding scale for up to 40 points based on your free reduced price meals. So again, it's a sliding scale, very competitive this round. Again, as I mentioned, we had over nearly $1.5 billion in requests. And with the adoption of the timelines provided by Michael, and the board just adopted, and just to highlight that these apportionments, if the board does grant those approvals, that they will have the extended timeline. And again, just remind them that they have to submit a valid fund release to our office within 18 months. And again, this aligns with the normal school facilities program. So the project must be completed within the 3 years from the first apportionment. And again, we're happy to present that to the board tonight.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Any public comment? May we have a motion in a second, please?
So moved.
Davies makes a motion.
Thank you. Moved by Assemblymember Bonta, seconded by Assemblymember Davies. May we take the roll, please?
Certainly. Senator Laird,
Aye.
Senator Newman,
Aye.
Assemblymember Bonta,
Aye.
Assemblymember Davies,
Aye.
Juan Morales,
Aye.
Jeremy Smith,
Aye.
Ana Lasso,
Aye.
Gail Miller.
Aye, the apportionments are approved. Ms. Davies, we'll go back really quickly on a couple items on the minutes
How do you?
Aye.
Thank you.
and on the consent calendar.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional grant for general site development.
Aye.
Great. Thank you very much. Now we will turn it over. Just a reminder, we do have closed session today. We have an annual opportunity to learn about Bagley Keene. I know many of you know it. It is very different to the legislative requirements. And because OPSC has run into some problems in the past, we asked Jay to come and make sure board members are familiar with the differences between Bagley Keene and other boards that you sit on in the way we're governed. So I'm going to turn it over to, and I'm so sorry to the Deputy Attorney General, so that we can learn a little bit today. And I do want to note that our members' time is really precious. I know you already know that, and And to the extent we can really hit the high points on this, we obviously really appreciate it. But sincerely,
And Madam Chair,
Yes.
Chair,
yeah,
if I can make a brief comment before he
Please.
does. I authored the bill to deal with Bagley Keene requirements for state boards and commissions, and the governor signed it over the weekend. So the things that we'll get a briefing on will change slightly on January 1st. Although the bill allows for a board to choose the current system unchanged or allow for remote participation and remote participation by both board members and by the public. So just FYI, there will be some options that kick in on January 1st that aren't totally what will be included in the briefing today.
yeah, I appreciate that, and we're very grateful to have some reliability and continuity in terms of Bagley Keene. And I think what we'll hear about today is also just about serial meetings and how many people can speak about an issue, how lobbying works for the state allocation board, in addition to what you're saying, which is how and when we can meet. So I do think that's an important point. Thank you. And thank you for authoring that bill. We're very grateful.
It was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, but it makes a difference. I will say, and this I swear is the last thing I'll say. If we were to survey all these boards and commissions, they, and this is not scientific, but the public participation, without exception, everyone says by allowing some version of remote participation, that participation is up, like by at least 30%. That's the lowest number I've heard. So I do hope that we continue to just have folks that engage and participate, because that's actually what makes this work interesting. So thank you for that. Okay, sorry, Mr. Dalji.
Not a problem. Thanks, Gail. So my name is Malad Dalji, and I'm an attorney with the Department of Justice. And I will try to keep this as brief as I can. And then at the very end, if there's any follow-up questions or any type of clarification anybody would like, we can just take it from there. So I'm here today to present a very broad overview of the requirements of Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act. Complying with the requirements of Bagley-Keene creates inefficiencies and frustration because it deprives people of their natural communication patterns. As a member of a public body, learning to comply with Bagley-Keene is not intuitive. But if you understand the purpose of it, it may make it easier to comply with its requirements. If I can ask someone to play the slideshow. Okay, awesome, thank you. I'm just gonna make sure I'm great. Can I get the next slide, please? Perfect. The purpose of Bagley-Keene is not to promote government efficiency. If efficiency was a priority, the legislature would have created a department with a single decision maker. Instead, it created a multi-member body. In doing so, it determined that consensus building was more important than efficiency. The consensus building process takes time and is very different from the individual decision maker model. The legislature also decided that the public should have a seat at the table. Bagley-Keene's open meeting, notice, public participation, and records requirements promote the public's ability to be part of the process. If you keep in mind that consensus building and public participations are higher priorities than efficiency, then Bagley-Keene requirements are much easier to understand and follow. There are 5 types of multi-member bodies that are required to comply with Bagley-Keene. The most common are multi-member state bodies created by statute or by the governor's executive order. Because the State Allocation Board is a multi-member state body created by statute, it is required to comply with Bagley-Keene. Next slide, please. Another type of body that is required to comply with Bagley-Keene is an advisory body of a state body. An advisory body is a subcommittee of a state body that consists of at least 3 members, has not been delegated any decision-making authority, and is created by formal action of the state body or a member of the state body. Members of an advisory body can be members of the state body, they can be staff, or they can even be private citizens. We're still on the prior slide, please. Formal action includes any type of action of a state body resulting in an advisory body. For example, a state body directing its staff qualifies as a formal action. Formal action can also include implied ratification. For example, if 3 members of a commission regularly meet outside of a public meeting to discuss agency business, it is possible that the 3 members have created an advisory body. Therefore, we generally caution that no more than 2 members of a state body should discuss agency business outside of a public meeting. We refer to this as the rule of 2. Complying with the rule of 2 can help commissioners avoid inadvertent violations of Bagley-Keene. Next slide, please. Bagley-Keene also applies to multi-member bodies that have been delegated any decision-making authority of a state body, such as an executive committee of a state body. Next slide, please. Finally, Bagley-Keene applies to a private or local public body if a member of a state body serves on that public body in their official capacity and the body receives funding from that member's state body. Next slide, please. It is important to remember that individuals appointed to a state body are members as soon as they are appointed, even before they are sworn in. Next slide. Do you guys like how fast we're going here? Okay. Bagley-Keene requires all meetings of state bodies to be open to the public. A meeting is a gathering of a majority of a state body to deliberate on any matter under the jurisdiction of that state body. Deliberation includes not only decision-making, but also information gathering. Next slide, please. Bagley-Keene specifically prohibits serial meetings. A serial meeting is a series of communications, each involving less than a majority of members of a state body, but collectively involving a majority of members of a state body to deliberate on any matter under the state body's jurisdiction. A serial meeting can occur through a chain of communications from one member to another, or when one person acts as a hub of a wheel and communicates individually with various spokes. A serial meeting can also occur directly or indirectly through intermediaries. A serial meeting can involve face-to-face communication, telephone calls, emails, and texting. Again, the philosophy behind Bagley-Keene is to promote public participation in the deliberation process. Serial meetings are prohibited because when members of a state body engage in serial communication outside of a public meeting, the public is deprived of the opportunity to participate in deliberation. Next slide, please. There are some very narrow exceptions to the open meeting requirement. For example, staff may brief or respond to questions from one member at a time about an item agendized for a public meeting, but staff may not communicate the comments or views of one member to other members, which could constitute a prohibited serial meeting. Next slide, please. There are specific types of gatherings that are not considered meetings. For example, a conversation between a member of a state body and a non-member, such as a member of the public or staff, so long as it is not part of a serial meeting, does not qualify as a meeting. There are also limited exceptions for conferences, noticed non-governmental meetings, meetings of other governmental bodies, and social gatherings so long as a majority of members do not discuss any agency business. One-way confidential legal advice from staff counsel to board members is also not a meeting, so long as board members do not discuss the legal advice amongst themselves outside of a noticed public meeting. Next slide, please. Bagley-Keene requires meetings to be noticed at least 10 calendar days in advance, including posting notice on the internet. The notice must also be provided in writing to anyone who requests a copy of the notice. Anyone may request to receive notices for all meetings of a state board. Notice must include an agenda of all matters to be discussed at the meeting, including a brief description of each matter. The brief description should contain enough information about the matter so that an average person can make an informed decision whether to attend and participate in the meeting. If an agenda item concerns a contract, loan, or grant, we recommend that the description reflect the purpose, parties, and dollar amount of the contract, loan, or grant. Generally, items may not be added to the agenda after the 10-day notice period has passed. A board member may not discuss any item not agendized at a public meeting, even if no action is to be taken by the board. Next slide, please. Generally, a member of a state body may not participate in a meeting if they are not physically present at the meeting. However, one or more members may participate in a meeting remotely only if specific requirements are met. Bagley-Keene refers to these meetings as teleconference meetings. For teleconference meetings, all remote locations that members are participating from must be disclosed in the noticed agenda, must be available for members of the public to participate from, and must be ADA compliant. All votes must be taken by roll call. At least one member must participate from the primary in-person location of the meeting. I refer to these teleconference rules as the traditional teleconference rules, which have been in effect since prior to the pandemic. There have been some other teleconference exceptions that were available during the pandemic and up until the end of this year. And as the senator mentioned, his bill that was signed by the governor is going to become effective on January 1st, 2024. And it's going to provide a set of teleconference rules separate from these traditional rules. So these traditional rules will still be in effect. So your board can still use these rules, but there will be another set of rules that will be available as I believe from January 1st, 2024 through January 1st, 2026.
That's correct. There's a sunset in those new rules.
That's right. That's right. Since the beginning of the pandemic, there have been exemptions to traditional teleconference requirements, either by executive order or legislation. The most current exemption, which expires at the end of this calendar year, allows complete virtual meetings with no in-person requirements for members of the boards, staff, or the public. Today's virtual meeting is being held under this particular exception. And that's the exception that's going to expire at the end of this calendar year. Next slide, please. Members of the public must have the opportunity to attend every meeting. You may not require members of the public to provide identification. In particular circumstances, security officers may require identification, but that information may not be shared with meeting personnel. Sign-up sheets must clearly state that they are voluntary, and identification may not be required to provide public comment. Members of the public may record, film, or stream meetings unless it is disruptive to the meeting. Opportunity for public comment must be provided before or during every meeting. The most common practice is to provide opportunity for public comment for each agenda item after staff presentation, but before deliberation by the members. Time limits may be imposed on public comments so long as they are reasonable under the circumstances. Next slide, please. When records are provided to a majority of a body, they must be promptly provided to members of the public upon request. Records prepared in connection with the meeting should be available for inspection at the meeting. Records provided by a third party should be made available as soon as practicable. Next slide, please. The public has the right to monitor votes of each member, and Bagley-Keene requires that all votes and abstentions be public and recorded. Best practice is to use roll call for all decisions and to record votes in the meeting minutes. Next slide, please. There are discrete and narrow exceptions to the requirement that all meetings of state bodies must be open to the public. State bodies may meet in closed session, meaning without members of the public, only under specific circumstances that are expressly identified in Bagley-Keene. There are closed session exemptions that apply to all state bodies, and there are some that, by statute, may only be used by particular state bodies. One of the exemptions that may be used by any state body is the pending litigation exception. Next slide, please. A board may meet in closed session to confer with or receive advice from its legal counsel regarding pending litigation when discussion in open session would prejudice the position of the body in the litigation. To obtain legal advice from its counsel on a litigation matter, the board must follow specific procedural requirements. Not all legal advice may be heard in closed session, only legal advice related to pending or imminent litigation. The closed session must be properly noticed. For litigation that has already been initiated, the agenda must include the title of the case. Legal counsel is required to submit a memorandum to the board stating the specific reasons and legal authority for the closed session no later than 1 week after the closed session takes place. However, the memo is confidential and exempt from disclosure. Information received and discussions held in closed session are confidential and may not be disclosed to outside parties by members or staff who attend the closed session. It's important to remember that confidentiality of a closed session is the commission or the board's privilege, not that of individual board members. Next slide, please. There are special procedural requirements that apply to all closed sessions. The notice agenda must indicate that there will be a closed session, identify the items to be discussed, and state the statutory authority for the closed session. Before convening the closed session, the body must also announce an open session, the issues that it will discuss in closed session, and allow for public comment. The body may address in closed session only those matters listed on the agenda and announced at the meeting. Board members may not stray into other topics, even if those topics are reasonably related to the closed session agenda item. A staff member must attend each closed session to record topics discussed and decisions made in closed session. After the closed session, the board must reconvene in public before adjourning the meeting. Only those staff members with an essential role may attend a closed session. Next slide, please. Failure to comply with Bagley-Keene can result in penalties and injunctive relief, including reversal of an action or decision by the state body. And the last slide, please. That concludes the presentation. If any members have a question or need some clarification on any of these rules, I'm happy to try to answer those questions. And we also have a Bagley-Keene guide that we recently updated with all the changes that have happened, and that's available on DOJ's website.
And will be updated with Senator Laird's bill in January.
That's right. Will be updated January 1st.
Yeah. You've
That's
heard
correct.
it from the source, Mr. Daltrey. Well, I really appreciate that. That was really well done and fantastic. I think the issue we've run into in the past, obviously, is serial meetings and speaking to a majority of the board. So that's how these trainings came about, because it is different than a legislative body. So any questions? Tour of Bagley-Keene in 15 minutes. If only your bill could have gone that fast, Senator Laird. No good deed goes unpunished. Okay, no questions. So we are now going to the 90-day workload, and then before we go into closed session.
Any questions on a 90-day workload?
Nope. Any public comments? Anyone wishing to comment for any reason on anything not on the agenda, or on the agenda for that matter? Please raise your Zoom hand. We will plan something for Lisa at another time. I know that many of you would like to be able to acknowledge her. So with that, we will meet in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 11126E for the purpose of conferring with and receiving advice from legal counsel regarding pending litigation. Upon conclusion of the closed session, I will report out from our session if necessary. All board members, please leave this meeting and access the closed session specific Zoom meeting link. You'll see it in your inbox. Mr. Watanabe bumped it up for everyone. So please leave this. And then I believe, Mr. Egan, that I can just come back and close out the meeting. We don't need a quorum to do that because we don't take a motion to adjourn. Is that correct? Okay, great. So with that, final opportunity for public comment. Anyone that wants to make a public comment for any reason? Seeing none, we will adjourn into closed session, and I will come back into open session to report out. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. The board met in closed session pursuant to Government Code Sections 11126E1 and E2C. And the State Allocation Board decided to initiate joint litigation with the California School Finance Authority. Are there any questions? Any final opportunity for public comment? Please use the raised hand feature. Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Silverman. Immense gratitude to for your service, and thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a good one.